going on, brother?
What's going on, Coach? Can't wait. Long week, man. I can't wait to preview some amazing topics that obviously I can't wait to cover. Also, again, well, first of all, shout out to myself. I know I see some people already. They're saying that it's birthday. So yeah, today's my birthday, man. So
Yeah, man.
um, yeah, appreciate you guys so much for all the support, all the love that I've been receiving on Twitter from you guys, and man, like I said, hopefully we can continue just another great show. We can deliver a great product for you guys, and I know coaches, I know our Coach Shawn is running a little late. He'll be here, so
Yeah.
don't you guys worry about it. But man, let's get into it because, whoo, Texas week
It,
is about to be here, baby. It's about to be
and
here.
it's so much to cover, from injuries to different news reports to things of that nature. Roll Tide, everybody in the chat. Before we get into it, we want to take time to acknowledge a lot of the comments, a lot of you that are getting in early, that are sitting there waiting. Roll Tide in the chat to my boy Roll Tide Rise Up. I see you in there, man, under your government name. Roll Tide to Bob Rutherford. He's always in here, longtime supporter of the channel. We do a lot of good dialogue in the chat. Mike Coleman, Roll Tide. Man, it's good to see everybody in here, man. Jason, Avester, I want to say. I hope I didn't say that. I hope I didn't butcher that. But Roll Tide. And we got our boy. Yes, thank you, Jesus. It didn't feel right even talking without my boy. We got Coach Shawn in the building, chat. Let's get it, baby. What's up, Coach Shawn? Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2, Coach Shawn. I think he's still trying to fix his mic, y'all. We're gonna give him time to get straight,
Mic
but
check,
he's here.
mic check,
There he
mic
go.
check.
There he go. There he go.
There
Yes,
he
we
is.
in here. There we go. There we go. And Coach Shawn, everybody, let's clap it up for Coach Shawn making it in. He's look at him, got a little forehead sweat on his forehead and everything, man. Look at he's still trying. Can you hear us, Coach Shawn?
Yeah, I'm on a different computer, man.
Okay.
Got some
We can hear
family
you
in
good.
town. Give me 1 second, brother. Y'all go ahead. Go ahead and
But all right, y'all. We got Coach Shawn in the building. He's trying to get situated. But once again, we just want to continue to acknowledge you all, man. Hey, everybody's excited to talk about Texas. But before we dive into Texas, man, let's get into this thing. Let's give our final thoughts. You all tuned in for the post-game show on Saturday after the Alabama just straight handling of Middle Tennessee State University. I think it was a great game. I think it was exactly what we need to see in areas where we had the biggest questions, mainly in the star of the game, Jalen Milroe, who led the Alabama offense with efficient passing, a total of 5 touchdowns, 3 in the air, 2 on the ground. Final thoughts and reactions, Coach Jay. Let me get what you're thinking about, man. How you feeling?
Well, I mean, I think like we talked about on Saturday, it was a great showing for Alabama, just trying to get back to and bring back the old standard, bring back that murder ball that we've always talked about for weeks now. It was a great showcasing. It was a great showcasing of some really good talent. Seeing Caden Proctor starting at left tackle, there was questions of whether or not it was going to be him or maybe Elijah Pritchett. So it was good to see Caden Proctor, and just overall to see that size, 6'7", over 360 pounds. That's a big man. He's gonna be an absolute freak of an athlete and continue that bloodline of excellent fresh tackles that ended up being first round picks in the future. But also too, Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe had a heck of a performance. We all know this, and he improved a lot of his quarterback mechanics. He improved his base. He improved his footwork. He improved overall the accuracy, and overall ball placement too was spot on. Everything about Jalen Milroe, including decision making and just the overall composure, was really nice that I was able to see from Jalen Milroe. I think the most thing that we got to talk about though was the defense. Defensively, they were spot on. They were super aggressive, especially coming from our linebacker spot, because we all know last year's linebackers group, and it wasn't Deontay Lawson. We all know was the other number 10 that did not really do a great job or wasn't as aggressive of what a lot of Bama fans wanted. So to see not just Deontay Lawson and to see guys like Tresman Marshall out there, but to see an entire brand new rotation of players, to see Quindarius Robinson in the rotation, to see Kendrick Blackshire in the rotation, and you just see how freakishly athletic these guys were, as far as shooting the gaps, as far as playing, as far as in phase and coverage, and just overall being really good off-ball linebackers if you really need them to. I mean, we have a lot of versatile. We have a really good group of guys that are extremely versatile, and obviously they're going to be big for us. But yeah, so it was a really good game. It was a really good showcasing, man. And overall wise, I can't wait to see what happens next week, because there's a lot of guys that maybe didn't get the opportunity that they didn't, the opportunity just because we ran a little bit out of time. And, obviously we did a great job, but obviously in that Texas game that's coming up, that's going to be really big for us. A lot of guys are going to get their opportunities, and they're going to get their showcase. So I'm excited to see what happens in the future.
I'm right there with you, man. Coach Shawn, final thoughts, final reactions. Even I want to hear your point. Were you able to get to listen to the interviews from today?
Yeah, listen to a few of them.
Okay, give me your thoughts on Saban's notes from the game, his thoughts, and even with the players, man. How you feeling post game, and then with the interviews on today? Let's hear your thoughts, brother.
I mean, the guys said what I thought they would say. I mean, they kept it nice and politically correct. You know what I mean? I think my final thoughts is, as I've been saying, Milroe, I mean, it's one game. I watched LSU and Florida State last night. I watched Texas. I watched Ohio State. I've seen everybody that played this weekend. You know what I mean? So if we're going to kick his back in for one game, we got to give his roses for one game. We all know it's not a finished product. I think we all know that. My final thoughts would be, for what we had to do and the team we had to play, I think Jalen did just fine. He did just what I wanted to do. He came out, he scored touchdowns, 5 total, didn't turn the ball over at all. So anytime you can go into a game, no matter who the opponent is, and not turn the ball over, I think that says something. The D-line, I still have my reservations about how we played on the interior. Injuries, that's a big thing, man. I think those guys have to come out and at least try to play if they can. But all in all, man, I think the offense played well. I think the defense played well. We all know it could be things better. We all know the play is never right where you want it to be. I analyzed Texas thoroughly today on offense. I wanted to really break down and see Coach Sark on offense. I know how he was at Alabama, but he has a little bit different personnel at Texas. So I wanted to go out and see what he did on offense. So I'm satisfied, man. I'm satisfied for one game against MTSU. We did what we were supposed to do, and I'm totally satisfied with that.
I'm just as excited as majority of the fan base. I think the fans that didn't overreact, who didn't, discount the talent that we were paying. I think what we need to realize is that regardless of the talent that we're playing, regardless of the team, you still have to go out there. You have to complete passes. You have to block. You have to do your assignment in order to win the football game. Talent's not going to win every time, and we saw that last year. We saw talent go out and beat up on a Utah State, and then talent come out and struggle against a Texas team who was prepared. And I think we highlighted that again after the game on Saturday. This team looked prepared more than anything. This team looked like they knew what their assignments were. And before I continue with my statement, I want to get to this question. Do you think our D-line will be able to pressure Quinn Ewers? If not, our secondary will struggle to cover their receivers. And that's Adam Lamparello. Appreciate the $5 super chat, man. To coincide and answer your question all in the same. Like I said, I feel like our team was more prepared than I've seen in the past maybe 3 seasons. I mean, just literally knew what the game plan was, knew what their assignments was, knew what the objective was. Even in miscues, you saw that like with Earl Little and the Earl Little and Terry Arnold mix up, where Earl Little didn't jump the slant route on the goal line play. I think that's something small that I guarantee you it's already been keyed in the film session. Sunday film session, it was keyed. I guarantee you it was probably talked about on the sideline after the play. We have such a group of mature secondary mature defenders that's like 2 to 3 deep, man. The guys that are willing to learn, and we saw that come onto the field. We saw that transpire on the field. So I'm like you, Shawn, like you, Jay. I'm more than excited about what could possibly be coming on the field this coming Saturday against Texas. I think we are more than prepared or more than equipped to handle Texas this year and handle it like we're supposed to. As far as guys, ready to play, I think if we're going to talk about teams being ready in comparison to modes and transitions and evolving of talent and all of these things that matter when we talk about development of players and putting a good product on the field, I think last year's base or the level, the standard that we set to as our starting point is a great starting point to build from. Now, I would hate to see for us to regress, and regressing doesn't mean because we go out and give up 21, but regress would mean go out and miss tackles, because I only saw maybe 3 or 4 missed tackles the whole game Saturday. Regress would be safeties getting caught up in coverage or getting mixed up in coverage. I only saw that once, and we cleared it up literally the next play. Jalen Keeley did his assignment and forced an interception after a mix-up in coverage. And it wasn't even a coverage on the run play. It was a run gap field. Him and Caleb Downs had an exchange of words, and he turned right around and made a big play. So I love the energy. I love what's happening on the campus. I love what's happening on the fan base. I saw a lot more positive response. And Shawn, you called us out. You called the fans out. You said they need to show up. They need to make noise. And I got friends that was there, and I got videos, and it was loud in that stadium at kickoff. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Let's go ahead and get into it tonight, man. Everybody here, they showed up. Everybody showed up to talk about Texas. We've been waiting for this since last year. It don't feel like we won 20-19 in Austin, Texas. It doesn't feel like we came away from that game as the best team in that matchup. And a lot of Texas fans, majority of their fan base, feel the same way. They feel like we snuck one out of there. They feel like we stole one from them, which is literally what happened. But we know we beat Texas, and we put a good product on the field. I'm just curious and excited to see what we look like with a good product on the field. So let's dive into it, guys. Tonight we're going to let's first talk about Alabama versus Texas. Let's talk about some things we were able to come across, some news, things of that nature. You want to talk Alabama? We talking about key injuries. Coach Jay, you want to go ahead and give everybody updates on the injuries that we have this week?
So of course for Alabama, of course Jalen Key and Malachi Moore, those are kind of the two big injuries. They're day-to-day guys, so we're again we have to keep keep up to date, keep up with the news just to see if these guys are going to be prepared. Because again, thankfully they're not going to be out for a long time, but they are going to be day-to-day, so they could potentially miss this game, but it's definitely a possibility that they play. It's definitely going to be 50-50 there. Again, Henderson, for the most part, we learned that for the most part, Emmanuel Henderson has a hip injury. So again, he could be out for about a couple of weeks. Potentially could be, come back of the field. So, but obviously the big one is Jalen Key and Malachi Moore. Those are two very, very important players in our backfield. You're going against a Texas receiving core on paper with the likes of Jatavion Sanders and Isaiah Nair or an A.D. Mitchell. A lot of those guys, you definitely want to try to have your best players because, again, it's next man up mentality. We understand that. But to have your key guys that understand the defense, that understand assignments, right, that has the experience to play in the defense, that's going to be extremely valuable. And especially going against a Steve Sarkisian-led unit, which uses a lot of motion and uses a lot of misdirection to try to confuse the opponent. So we have to keep up to date with that. But for the most part, they are day-to-day with those particular injuries.
Man, great report, man. And all the information that we're getting is strictly from, Coach Saban's interviews and our insider reports. Nothing special, nothing more than what you all are getting. We're just giving our own personal take on how it could possibly affect our team as far as going out and being successful and completing the mission, which is beating Texas. And I mean beating Texas, not just winning the game, but beating Texas. Coach Shawn, major keys for the offense to have success in this game. Let's not dive into the particulars. Let's talk about the major keys. Give me 2 major keys for our offense to have success against this Texas defense.
Our offensive line against their defensive line.
Yes, sir.
Our offensive line has to play well against this defensive line. We will not be successful on offense unless our offensive line has a good game. 2 things. Our offensive line has to play well and Jalen Milroe's legs. I think those 2 things will be the key to our game as far as when we're offense. When Texas is on offense, our defense has to have great eyes, great eye control. The middle linebackers cannot get caught up in watching window dressing. They cannot get caught up in watching the motions. Steve Sarkisian's entire offense is based off motions. Everything they do, the RPO game, even the zone read game is all based off motions, misdirection. So our middle linebackers, as far as when we're on defense, have to have great eyes, man. If they have great eyes, we'll be just fine. The safeties and the middle linebackers have to have great eyes. On offense, Jalen Milroe's legs and our offensive line have to play well. If those 3 things happen, we'll come out with a victory easily.
Expound on what you mean by they have to have their eyes in the right place, because we get into a lot of conversations about football with with fans. I think fans have this misconception of what football is based off what they see on the video game or what they see on game day. But there's a lot of small, intricate things that go into before the ball is even snapped. So when you talk about linebackers and safeties having their eyes in the backfield, go ahead and expound on that. Give examples, because we've all been breaking down film this week. And I just want you to give one simple example of a play where you remember from last season where the eyes weren't in the backfield. And this is the way you've been waiting on. Go ahead and knock it out.
Perfect example. First, let me say motion, rips, lizzes. Motion, to the football fan that don't really understand what I mean by motion, is when they bring a player and run him to the other side, run him to this side. He's just not running just for a reason. That motion is used to find out a multitude of things, whether you're playing man coverage or not, whether you want to take one person out of the play, whether you want to run something back to an opposite side, what we call the play side and backside of the formation. Motion is used for a lot of different things, and Steve Sarkisian is absolutely great at using motion. When I say eyes, what I mean is I have to give you a play of what I'm talking about last year, and the same play I saw this year. I saw them run Saturday. What I mean by motion and eyes is when you play middle linebacker and you see a man come in motion, whether it's a running back or a wide receiver, a lot of times, depending on what defense you're playing, that somebody follows that man. If you're in a certain coverage, somebody may not follow that man. All depends on what coverage you're playing. But if playing middle linebacker, if you let your eyes get wrapped up in the motion, man, you'll miss the misdirection and they'll kill you with a screen. For example, Texas Saturday ran a play where Quinn Ewers sprinted to one side. They brought motion to the backside of the formation. The middle linebackers for Rice got caught up in the motion, watching the motion man the whole time. Quinn Ewers throws a screen, what we call a bubble screen, hot screen, shotgun, quick screen, back to the play side of the running back who didn't go in motion. Right. They faked the RPO to him, ran him on a wheel route out of the backfield, hit him behind the line of scrimmage, actually, before he even cut up field, and the guy took it about 60 yards for a touchdown. All in all, the linebackers for Rice got caught up in watching the motion man instead of watching their keys. If the safeties and linebackers get caught up in the motion, they'll kill us with small plays, with screen passes, bubble screens, anything that goes behind the line of scrimmage. So you got to be extremely disciplined with your eyes when you're playing middle linebacker. Read your keys. You can't get caught up in the motion man. Last year, our linebackers got caught up in the motion. They would hit us with what we call reverse bubble screens. They sprint out to one side of the formation, turn around and throw it back to the other side. All in all, our linebackers get mixed up in the coverages. Next thing you know, they're 70 yards downfield for a big play or a touchdown. So we have to be extremely disciplined with our eye control with middle linebacker and safety.
Okay, and I'm gonna follow you up because you took all of my points. Because it was literally the simple things last season that Texas beat us with. So my keys to winning the matchup without going in depth is going to be, like you said, I think our wide receivers did well for the opportunities that they had last year, minus the big drop by Bonds. Down, or was that Prentice down in the middle of the field? I think it was Bonds when he was streaking down the middle of the field late and just kind of I don't know, somehow dropped it. I don't see those type of plays happening this year because everything seems to be based off of timing and being on schedule. And that's what made Alabama's offense efficient in the past. So timing and being on schedule is a key for us on the offensive side. Defensively, not necessarily, because I think the amount of experience we have at that level and the inside linebacker room, I don't think we'll have a problem there. But I think Sark is going to try to key those secondary guys that are getting that first taste of real college football. Caleb Downs. He's going to test Terry Arnold to see if he's for real. I don't think Sarkisian is going to give us the opportunity to let Kool-Aid make a big play, especially not early in the game. I don't think Sarkisian is going to, if Jalen Key is out there, Sarkisian saw what Jalen Key did to that wide receiver and knows that he has the same type of wide receivers, aggressive wide receivers who want to stretch the field. Jalen Key made that look like he could stretch the field and just literally came under the route and undercut it. Because if he had tried to lob it over, I don't know if y'all saw, but Terry Arnold probably could have flipped his hips and had the pick too where Jalen Key had it. He came off of his man and flipped his hips. Either one of them would have had a good play on the ball. So I love the understanding. I love the whole the way we were able to display what we want to establish our identity off of. We had some good run plays. A few of them got knocked, it was early hits in the backfield coming from that right guard position. We all know what that issue is, but the keys is going to be that timing and staying on schedule for our offense. Defensively, I can't say it better than you did, brother. Discipline on every level. And I don't even think it's an aggression issue. People were questioning, the defensive line production this past game. You're not going to get much defensive line production when you're playing the air raid offense who's not going to run up the middle. I went back and I watched majority of the game where there were run plays. Our defensive front was very disruptive. The linebackers were making plays because of how disruptive the defensive front was. It just seemed like they would disappear at times because 7 out of the 8 plays that was ran on that drive were quick screens to the outside, quick hitches to the outside. So, but what I did like is the fact that you saw 93 and 91 out on the perimeter on the sidelines making plays, 7-8 yards downfield, chasing down plays. I like the fact that Trez Marshall came from the opposite side of the field and was in on the gang tackle before the whistle was blown. It wasn't him jumping late on the pile after the whistle was blown. So I'm excited, guys. We talk about the spread. They're giving Alabama they're giving the win to Alabama minus 6.5. Do you all think that the game is going to be that close? I'm gonna just throw it to whoever. Jay, what you feel like? Alabama by 7?
I think it could be. It could be like that. But if it's going to be a 6.5, it's probably going to be more of a defensive game. Where because I do like Texas defensive line. I do like 93. I like 90. I like how quick and explosive those players are, especially coming off the line of scrimmage, and how they can just absolutely demolish playing even when they're playing gap assignment defense. They can absolutely demolish it. So I do think that it could potentially be a threat, and also depending on what lineup we assert. We'll get into that in a bit, but what lineup we assert for the offensive line. So that it's going to be literally going to be a battle in the trenches. Because I'll say this. I think Quinn Ewers, again, should be respected. I think Quinn Ewers is a player that obviously you take a look at last year, you saw some of the elite arm talent that or the potential that he can display with the arm. But I'm not that confident. I don't think he's as consistent. I think Steve Sarkisian, with the amount of motion and misdirection, I think that literally, it has to happen in order for Quinn to have success so that he can identify which sort of defense that we're in, and he can take advantage of the opportunities that's kind of given to them. I think he's an opportunistic type of guy. But I think this is literally going to be a battle in the trenches. Their defensive line versus our offensive line. Our defensive line versus their O-line. It's going to be a battle literally in the trenches. And I think whoever particularly wins that matchup, again, I know it's kind of cliche to say, but for this game, it really is true. Because I think both teams have really good skill position players. Both teams have a lot of 5-star players. Especially again out at the skill position, in the secondary, they got the talent there. It's just now all about who's going to dominate the trenches. And I think very similar to what we saw yesterday with LSU and Florida State, how that was kind of more of an equal game. The difference was that Florida State was more dominant in the interior, and they were way more dominant as far as getting to the putting pressure on the quarterback and containing Jaden Daniels. That's exactly what we have to do. We have to contain Quinn. We have to dominate the line of scrimmage, and overall wise, we have to put pressure. Especially like this is a game where Dallas Turner cannot be silent. He can't be silent in this game. Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell, both those guys have to get after it, because that's kind of one of our biggest issues last year was that Dallas and Will weren't as disruptive and as dominant as we would expect them to. So
I say Dallas was very impactful last year against Texas. It was Will Anderson that disappeared and showed back up with the penalties and put us in bad positions. And Dallas, even the face mask against Ewers last year, with Dallas Turner, his aggressiveness was unmatched. And he was going against a solid right tackle, solid left
Christian
tackle.
Jones.
So I mean, I think we see a big night from Dallas. I think we see a big night from the defense. Coach Shawn, do we cover the spread? Do we just cover the spread, or do we pull away? Do we barely win? Give me some insight, brother.
I think we cover the spread. And I'd like to take the other side of what my brother Coach Jerick said. I do think Quinn Ewers, man. I'm on the Quinn Ewers train, man. Shout out to Always Believe in Alabama before I get started. Huge fan. Great guy in the chat, man. Shout out to you, brother. I am on his train, brother, because I saw that guy pick us apart in man coverage. I am on that guy's train because I know Coach Sark know what we like to play. Coach Saban is stubborn. We're not going to switch it up for this team. I think Quinn will have an opportunity if we don't play sound in the secondary to make some plays against us. Coach Sark is a brilliant offensive coordinator, man. He uses his tight ends a lot. The guy will bring motion. He'll line up in 12 personnel and run the tight end down the seam. So
Yep.
I
That was
do
one of the
think,
touchdowns.
yeah, that guy, I think his name was
Jatavius Sanders.
Jatavius Sanders.
Yep.
Yes.
Just ran up the seam, misdirection, and then Jatavion just ran up the seam wide open.
Facts. I do think Quinn, because we're going to play man. I watched Xavier Worthy get that Kool-Aid a little bit last year, and the young man who's not on our roster anymore, who transferred. I forgot his name, number 6, I think he was.
Tyrese Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Give Up the Bean Top.
Yes.
24/7. He gonna get the bean top.
Yeah, exactly. I think if we don't get pressure on this young man, we will be in a little trouble. I think the key, just like Jerick said, we have to get pressure on Quinn Ewers. Not even sack him. I mean, just get pressure on him, hit him a little bit. We don't have to sack him every time. Just cause some disruption. Don't let that man set his feet. Don't let that man get a clear alley, a clear passing lane. Get your hands up on a defensive line.
Yep.
I do believe if we let that man sit back there, he has potential to hurt us. I do believe that. I do believe that, man. And that's my biggest concern. My biggest concern is not the secondary. My biggest concern is we get enough pressure on that man to where he's not comfortable, because Sark is going to come out and try to get him in a rhythm. Sark is going to come out and let him try to hit some screens, some really short passes to get him into a rhythm. I don't think he's going to take the over the top play right off the rip.
Right.
Being on the road, I don't think he wants to do that right off the rip, but I do think he's going to try to get Quinn comfortable. And I think
before you keep diving, Shawn, you keep diving, because you diving into the next segment. Look at you. You one of them preachers, man. You one of them preachers that get up, and you ain't supposed to be preaching. Yeah, we supposed to be taking
fired
up
up over here.
Look, we supposed to be taking up offering. But chat, you all are sharing your thoughts. Let's acknowledge some of these comments, man. I saw some pretty good ones. Here we go. I seen this one. This was my main point, Shawn, and me and you said this with all the concerns and all the legitimacy that we've been mentioning, all the realistic things that can possibly be a concern. This is my main thing. This ain't no Pete Golden defense from last year. Kevin Steele in this defense, I don't think he held his cards this past weekend against Middle Tennessee State. And like you said, Saban is not going to change his style of play calling, or allow his style of play calling to be changed or put in position to be dictated ever again like it was last year. We're talking about opponent defensive production like we've never seen under Coach Saban. And it ain't like we didn't have the talent. We had the talent on the roster. Scheme was horrible. The timing of play calling, the timing of a blitz, the type of blitzes, you're sitting, you're whenever you want to get pressure on the quarterback, you don't send one of your bookends, you send both of them jokers. You let them jokers have terror on the tackle, that running back that's trying to chip them. You let that tight end, you let them beat them up. That's how they get down late in the game. Those guys are getting tired of having to deal with them swims and them bull rushes and getting put on their back and grabbing for jerseys. Man, Dallas Turner, we say Dallas Turner disappeared last game. Guys, go watch Dallas Turner. Go watch the snaps. Dallas Turner was putting a hurting on them tackles, man. Any gap contained, he was snatching dudes around, ragdolling people. It's one of the things where the scheme just didn't fit for him to have a big game. And early in the game, he showed what he could do. The first almost sack was by Dallas Turner. He beat the guy off the edge so fast. I don't think Middle Tennessee State coach was trying to allow that to happen all night. They got a full season to play. They was trying to collect that check, show what they could do, and that's what it be. Play it safe. They played a solid game for like 8 minutes. I give them that. 8 minutes, but we just came out and focused. So let's get into it, y'all. Tonight, we're going to get into it. Let's talk about some of the keys. We're going to get into some matchups, y'all. And I want to start off with and Coach Shawn, I want you to follow up with whatever I don't touch that you feel like you need to touch. So tonight we're going to talk about the coaching battles. I want to talk about the keys in order for Coach Tommy Rees to have success against this Texas defensive staff. Mind you, this Texas defensive staff, they have a defensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator, and a pass game defensive coordinator. It's one of them things where they have like a conjoined concept. And when you have those type of things, And I believe that's what made Texas secondary look very confused against Rice. Those guys were not dominating in the passing game. They were if anything, their front kept them fresh and kept, saved them from a lot of opportunities that could have been big plays early in that game. And JT Daniels, he was exposing it early. It's just, athleticism, difference of talent, it started to show up. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. Go ahead. What you got to say, Jay? I see you down there raising your hand.
Yeah, Coach. Real quick before we get to Shawn, listen. I will say this: Coach Jeff Choates and Pete Kukowski, different philosophies.
Oh yeah,
two different defensive philosophies that they both approached. So that's one thing I was able to notice against that Rice game. That's if you look at their history, they defensively, as far as co-defensive coordinators, and especially the type of units that they run, two different defensive philosophies. You can just tell that they had some disagreements earlier on in that game.
Yes. Even in the second half, there was a lot of athletic plays being made by Texas defenders, and mostly up in the front. And I don't think we have the same caliber of offensive line, even with Dallencourt, being at right guard right now. I don't think we have the caliber of offensive line that Rice, has. So I'm more confident into seeing this battle with Coach Reese's play calling, how he implements his strategy, how he implements the run game. What pre-snap motions is he providing for Jalen Milroe to get the exact or get a good guess on the coverage that he's about to be exposed to? I'm excited to see Jalen Milroe process information on a more advanced scheme, because Texas was running this exotic scheme. It didn't look impressive because, like me and Jay was both just saying, you could tell there's conflict. Guys aren't comfortable. Their secondary was giving me reminiscent moments of Alabama's defense last year. Guys asking questions when the ball is being snapped. It was plenty of times where you had one corner, already down, ready to press, and another corner on the other side, still asking for the call from the safety. So I'm glad to see that, we have that continuity on the offensive side, even on the front. Dalcourt being blown up has nothing to do with the chemistry of the offensive line. That's just showing that he's not the fit for that assignment. I guarantee you, we pull Ferguson in, we have a different type of result in the pass game. I do think we're going to have to be more aggressive at running the ball at their defensive lineman, not trying to run away from them. We all know the more time you give a defensive lineman to roll through his attack, his pressure, the stronger that attack or pressure gets. And the way you eliminate that is you get the ball at him quick. You don't give him time to react. You slow him down by making him have to get out of what he's comfortable with doing, and that's running the ball at him. So, Coach Shawn, that was my take for the offensive side as far as what we got to do initially to see Tommy Rees have success against this defense. In the passing game, what would you like to see?
I think Coach Rees need to get the guys ready to be blitzed a lot. I think these guys are going to bring a lot of pressure on Jalen Milroe. I really believe that. I think they feel if they can knock Jalen around a little bit, I think that would be something that I would do if I was playing against Alabama. As far as the passing game goes against Texas, when I watched Texas late in that game, Texas was in nickel a lot. I seen them in nickel, 5 DBs a lot. So I don't quite know if they'll run that against us. I don't think they will early.
Me neither.
But I think they will go into nickel sometime during the game, especially if Jalen Milroe has some success. I'd like to see us sort of same game plan we had Saturday. Let him get in the rhythm. You can run screens all day, especially with people who bring pressure. Anytime you can run the screen play, you in good shape.
Coach Shawn, yes, I did notice that Rice ran that 12 personnel formation with the when we had knee black in the H back position. Oh, you was on the phone? You had muted yourself.
Yeah, my fault.
But I noticed how Texas was playing it. If they play that type of gap containment with knee black and Lewis, if Tommy Rees doesn't key that for Jalen Milroe, I think we struggle. But if he starts to hit that early and allow those two guys get the ball in their hands early, and that weak tackling I saw in the secondary from Texas against Rice, I think that's a big factor. But continue, man. I just want to point that out because that nickel set, that 3-3-5 that they were in, it was so much space in between. It was like 8-yard, cushions, 9-yard cushions in their base nickel. And I was like, What is that for? You know, I would love to see our tight formation, our shotgun tight formation against that. You know,
Exactly. And I feel like Coach Steele on the defensive side of the ball, he's got to be ready for those motions, man. He got to be ready for those motions. He got to be ready for multiple looks and different type of motions and screen passes and bubble screens. And he will try to attack the perimeter. Coach Sark is going to try to attack the perimeter. Guaranteed. He's going to try to get our linebackers running sideline to sideline. So it's going to be a chess match, man. It's going to be a chess match, but I feel good about Coach Reese. I feel
Me
good
too.
about Coach Steele. I feel very, very good. I feel good with playing them so early in the season. It's like I said, I think the crowd would be the key, man. The crowd has to come out and do their part against Quinn Ewers. You have to help us make it tough for that guy. That's what it is.
Okay. And here on this show, we not just biased Bama fans. We love football. So Coach Jay, can you give us one key that you think Coach Sark is going to try to expose for them to have success against our defense? Since we're on talking about battles and offensive styles and that thing, let's get into the matchup, the key offensive matchup. I think we just talked about that. Okay, here we go. Key defensive matchup with our defense against Texas offense.
It's going to be very interesting. Again, we talked about a lot of the misdirection and obviously the motion that they love to do to try to find the correct matchups and to find those mismatches, especially if we get caught in man. And I think one last year that was kind of a little underappreciated, it was underrated, and I was actually kind of shocked that Texas didn't really attack it as much, was Jatavian Sanders. Jatavian Sanders had really had some awesome matches, especially when he was up against oh my goodness, I forget. No, it wasn't Henry T. It was who was our other? I forget. I'm already forgetting the name. Jalen Moody. Yes, like he had matchups, those one-on-one matches with Jalen Moody whenever we had motion and we were caught in man. And for some reason, Quinn didn't see it. Quinn didn't see it. Now, a big reason why was because Xavier Worthy was simply streaking down the field against either Kyrie Jackson or against the young Kool-Aid, who just wasn't ready for the moment. And obviously, that's where we had a big part of why we had 15 penalties in that game. Of course, with a lot of the holding and pass interferences that were called. But I would expect a lot more key matchups with Jatavian Sanders to try to get him out and open in space. I do know they like to run 12. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if tight ends are definitely going to be matched more. I will say this, though, is that I think that Texas will underestimate our linebackers because I think we will be getting a lot more matchups. And I think that with Quindarius Robinson, with Deontay, we have the personnel and we have the speed that can literally, what do you want? You can line them up as an edge, drop them back 10, 15 yards in a hurry. You can line them up in the middle and just and simply cover the hook. They'll be fine there. They can cover the flat and get a little deep, and it can get a lot deeper than that as well, right? I mean, again, me and Coach Boo, we talked about this backstage, but there were times where linebackers were literally stride with their receivers, stride for stride. So they're going to I'm telling you, they're going to get matchups with our linebackers, and I'm telling you, they're going to underestimate the speed and the athleticism that we already have. Listen, Jalen Ford, out of all the linebackers between Texas and them, they have the best coverage linebacker by far in Jalen Ford. He's the best coverage linebacker, I believe, in the country. But we are very, very underrated as far as that aspect. I think that they're going to underestimate our speed. And I'm telling you, Jordan Whittington, Jatavian Sanders, and I think I forgot the other tight end. I think his name is Burmy. For 12 personnel type of situations, I'm telling you, they're going to underestimate, and I think they're going to get caught lacking a bunch of times.
Shawn and Jay, that's what I want to highlight when you talk about the matchup. I think Texas thinks they're going to be able to have those same type of mismatches because, one, we have a lot of youth as far as playing experience on the field in those positions where we struggled at last year. And I don't think Sarkisian respects this defense I don't think he respects Coach Saban enough. Sarkisian and Coach Kiffin are two of the most bold coaches when I'm talking about play calling wise. They're the two most boldest because if they can get you reacting to their scheme, to their game plan, you've lost half of the battle. That's just how they don't want to call plays to score the first 3 plays of the game. But if you do allow a score in the first 3 plays, there's a mental thing that they tend to do with their offensive play calling. They tend to get you all spread out and out of sorts, thinking that they trying to go over top again, give you the same formation and just gut you. I don't think we chance it by allowing them those opportunities this weekend. I think we send pressure. I think Kevin Steele, I mean, I don't know if you all paid attention to the new cheetah package. We had Blackshire, Turner, Lawson, Marshall, Braswell, and Robinson out on the field. You had those 7 guys, and you had Otis, and then you had your 4 cover guys. It was like, because you have 2 linebackers on the field that can cover. So you got you know your 155. That set is going to be crazy hard to protect against. And I saw a lot. We're going to get into this, but I saw a lot of sluggishness across that Texas front, especially on the interior. So I mean, I like our chances offensively. I like Tommy Reese's chances to show what he's capable of. I like Jalen Miro's chances to I think one thing we missed out, and that's what I was going to allude to, Shawn. You made it a point. Jalen Miro using his legs. It was a lot of plays last year where if Bryce would have ran early in the game and took those 4-7 yards, maybe 12,
First
because they're
down.
not first down. Now the safeties can't sit up top, and it doesn't look like our wide receivers can't create separation because not once did they pull 2 safeties in the box or pull 2 safeties within 10 yards of the offensive line. They had safeties sitting at 12 to 15 yards off the line, just waiting for Bryce to try to make something happen. Yeah. So I don't see Tommy Rees putting Jalen Miro in that type of situation, which then entails we are going to get active somewhere else, and it's going to be in the run game, and we're going to be able to test that defensive front, which, like Coach Jay said, I believe is their strongest point on the defense right now. And as we get into it, let's talk about our defense against their offense. Coach Jay, since we let Coach Shawn start off with the offense last time, you take the defense away. What are some key? What's the key matchup as far as Coach Steele, Coach Saban, Coach Steele versus Coach Sark? And I want Shawn to go last because Shawn knows how to break down that Sark offense. He loves that Sark era offense. It's something about Sark era offense in Bama. But go ahead, Coach Jay. Saban and Steele versus Sark.
Ooh, it's gonna be extremely interesting, man. I think that's gonna be a heck of a battle versus Sarkisian. Some keys that I think that I definitely think that Coach Steele is gonna be using, man. I'm telling you, man, edge presence is gonna be extremely important. Containment and disruption from those edges is going to be very important as far as stopping the key. And I will also say this as well: Deontay Lawson is going to be a major factor. If you go back and watch the Rice Texas game, number 40, I believe it was either number 40 or number 42. One of their inside linebackers, as far as just gap blitzing, was dominant, especially in the first half. It caused major issues to Quinn Ewers. Matter of fact, he got pressured 8 times, and he got pressure 8 times in that game. They had a very high pressure rate as far as gap blitzes goes, and the fact that Texas couldn't really pick up a lot of those gap pickups, that's I ain't gonna lie to you. I was my mouth was water. I'm telling you, man, like boys to mangoes, man. When the water runs dry, I'm telling you, that was happening with me because I'm smiling. Now, of course, they didn't have Cole Hudson. I don't think Cole Hudson played in that game as well. So and again, that could be huge because he's a very huge impactful player, especially what they have in the interior. But the fact that Texas was struggling when it comes to their pickups, and they were struggling with edge pressure because Kelvin Banks and Christian Jones, who are 2 of their best tackles, were struggling. Like Kelvin Banks, we talked about this before on the last show, but you have a player in Kelvin Banks who stuffed 3 first-round defensive linemen. And against that Rice game, he looked slow. He looked sluggish. He didn't really look like he really had that much of a strong base. The kickstart was pretty slow. Like something was off about him. So I don't know if that's an injury issue or maybe it just wasn't off, or maybe it was just an off game. But especially with our players in our front, we're so much faster. We're so much more athletic, and we're so much more aggressive than Rice. And I think Kevin Steele and Saban are going to take a look at that. They can game plan around that, and I won't be surprised at all even if they send all the motion in this direction. If we say, you know what, we're going to be way more aggressive. We see certain holes and weaknesses, especially in your interior, that we can take advantage of. And I'm telling you, our linebackers are going to have a very, very big game, I believe, in this for this matchup against Texas.
You know what, Jay? Before we let Shawn go, I think something that we don't want to highlight or we tend to forget when you talk about the interior, DJ Dale, Justin Boygby, and who was the other guy? It wasn't
Byron
Tim
Young.
Smith on the other. Byron Young. 78.
That was Justin's best game.
Exactly, and that was literally one of those things where Jaheim Otis didn't touch the field until the second half, and when he touched the field in the second half, we saw the impact he made. Literally, him and Justin Boybe allowed Byron Young to have the big plays that he ended up having in the second half of that game. You know, even set up plays when the other number 10, name we won't mention, couldn't finish plays, you know. So it's one of those things where we personnel wise, I don't think we hold our cards to this week. I don't think we hold our cards. And the mismatch is definitely in the interior. I'm looking at the weakness that they have. This DJ Campbell kid was getting 8 up at right guard by a defensive end. I mean, all he was doing is crashing inside and just blowing them up like Dalcourt was doing. And so if a defensive end that's as big as our outside linebackers and Dallas Turner and Quindarius Robinson, the defensive end at Rice, 6'2", 245, is blowing your right guard up and pushing him into the pocket like that, I am scared for what's going to happen with Jaheim Otis gets a hand on him or have to get a body on him and a stunt, or you have to try to clean up or try to stop Trez Marshall from coming in on the, you know, cleaning up hole up on a stunt, a blitz. Like it's one of those things where, man, just knowing Kevin Steele's tendencies and everything, I'm excited about. Coach Shawn, give us the keys, man. This is what you've been waiting on. Break it down for us, because I don't want to take your answers this time. I'm gonna let you do it, but go ahead, bro.
For me, man, it's about penetration. It's about penetration. On the defensive side of the ball, we got to get penetration on the defensive front. Texas is a RPO team. They're a motion team. They're a spread a la power formation out of the shotgun team. 2 split backs in the shotgun. They run a lot of RPO, a lot of option routes. Penetration, man. We got to be able to get penetration between the tackles. We got to be able to play the gaps very, very sound. We got to be able to do our job. Also, safety play. Our safeties have to be disciplined in this game, man. If our safeties are not disciplined, this team will hurt us. I'm telling you, this team will hurt us. And defending the short pass. Quinn Ewers loves to throw the short pass, the skinny post, the short slants. They throw those all day and try to get their players in one-on-one situations against our defensive backs. Our secondary is going to, if we are physical the way we were Saturday, we'll be fine. Our secondary is going to have a lot of opportunities this week. So for me, that's the name of this game. We got to play sound defense. I think Coach Steele understands that this is a motion team. Don't get wrapped up in all the window dressing. I think if we play sound fundamental football, we should be fine. To Jerick's point, that was a great point, man. I think that if we put pressure on these guys, pressure, crowd noise, and being sound, disciplined, fundamental football will bring us the win this week. You better believe it.
A big win at that, because you know consistency with the small things produces big results.
Exactly.
We've seen that. We've seen that. We saw that last week against Middle Tennessee State. Guys consistently keeping their eyes in the right place. Exactly. After a while, you're not going to get it on the first pass. You might not get it on the second or third. You might just be only being there and being able to make the stop. But seeing tendencies and taking that coaching and being able to retain that, it plays in the snaps, because quarterbacks, they once you show a quarterback something, they hit it a few times, they begin to have like this false image of things being open. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. Sometimes you have the ability to throw things open that aren't there. Sometimes you get a little bit overzealous and you're throwing bad passes. So hopefully we can get this guy to some situations where we're creating opportunities where he's thinking he's seeing one thing and it's really just exactly what it was. You know, we playing type match zone. You know, I like how we played match zone last game. Since you know we're talking about the offensive side. I mean our defensive side having success. I think what we go into is last year they killed us on a lot of crosses, a lot of mesh routes, you know, and it wasn't even rub routes. It wasn't pick routes or anything. Guys were just, you know, when it's time to pass it off to the linebacker, our linebackers were not receiving those exchanges, you know, and safeties on the switch release. Tennessee did it to us a lot. They saw Texas do it to us 3 or 4 times. They did it to us 10, 12 times. Because we refused, our defensive coordinator refused to make adjustments. So I think this year we keep it simple. You saw a phase of it on the goal line play between Terry and Arnold and Earl Little, where you know Terry Arnold in phase switched off. Shouldn't have had to been a call. It should have been automatic because the outside receiver crossed Earl Little's face before Terry Arnold switched off. He made sure he crossed and he was on top of the inside receiver, releasing outside, which we call a switch release, inside out. You know, they switch on their release. So it was a good thing to see that concept is being a little bit better understood, especially by Arnold. We know he's a starter, so that's good to see that.
Let me say this, Coach Smook, before you
Go
move
ahead, brother.
on. That play you brought up with Earl Little was outstanding. That was outstanding because I watched Travis Hunter for Colorado be in that same position, same sort of play, and the linebackers were so disciplined for Colorado, it gave the defensive back time to
recover.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of following the receiver, he jumped the route. Jumped the route. The linebacker play allowed him to jump that route. And he intercepted the ball. So that's the difference. You're right. That's the difference in those two.
And Kyle, I mean, Shawn, the thing about it is, the conversation was had as soon as the play was over with. Coaching is not waiting to get to the sideline. It's literally, you had, I want to say Murphy. Was that Sean Murphy? No, that wasn't Sean Murphy. That was Trez Marshall was playing that side. But he had an assignment. So he was telling, hey, if I got containment here, if I got an assignment here, you have to front that. You can't sit back on it. You can't wait for me to cover under. You have to jump it. And Earl Little, that's what he wants to do. You remember, it was on the out play, but he jumped the route. He gambled on jumping the route, and you could tell that's his nature. So I think it's about them first game jitters, like Coach said in the press conference. And I believe Earl Little was the guy he was talking about. He feels like guys are going to continue to come along the more reps that they get. So I'm excited for the matchups. I'm excited to see the coaching. It's a lot of experienced coaches on these staffs, guys. I don't think we're going to see this much experience on both sides of the ball. And you're talking about two different philosophies of how you want to impose your team's identity or start and continue a trend. I think this is going to be a more philosophy and concept based matchup than what it was last year. Because last year was about who could make the least mistakes, you know, because Texas should have capitalized on a lot of offensive drives that, you know, they just, whether it was drop passes, getting behind the sticks early, allowing us to get, you know, cheap plays when they could have had us beat. It's just misreads, all that type of stuff played into them not taking that game from us last year. And then also us with as many miscues as we had. Most penalized game in the season, correct?
Yeah. Was that against 15 Texas? Penalties. 15 penalties for 100 yards.
So, like, I mean, it's one of those things where we're at home, Shawn. We're at home, Jay. The crowd, they bring it out the bleachers. You know they're gonna bring out the bleachers. We got to get them extra 20,000 up in there. You know,
I hope so, man.
I mean, I'm almost tempted to believe that standing room is gonna be available down on the field, on the gate. You know, I feel like we're gonna give Texas everything they can handle. And if we are locked in and keyed on our concepts, on our game plan, this can get ugly. Third quarter. I feel like a third quarter pull-off, Alabama 42, Texas 17 type junk. Like, you know, that's the type of energy I'm getting, because I just see a different look in this defense's eyes. I see a different look in Coach Saban's eyes, his demeanor, his response to the media. So I'm excited, guys. I'm excited. Before we continue on, let's acknowledge some of our fans. Shawn, what you want to acknowledge, man? I know you always watching the chat. You always give good talking points to acknowledge. Have you seen anybody that, you know, we can jump on real quick before we continue?
Yeah, I seen my man Always Believe. He always has great quotes. My man Buck, home field is worth 6 points. He always has great points.
We got a super chat too. Hold on. Yeah. Quentin right here with the super chat. Let's get this super chat up real quick. And then you can go ahead, Shawn. Best case for y'all is Jalen to scramble. Not necessarily scramble. Let's attack this real quick. Not attack it, but let's acknowledge this real quick. Quentin, appreciate the $1.99 super chat. First of all, we definitely appreciate the support. Thank you for supporting BAMA football on YouTube. Kyle Henderson and Monday night with the coaches. Man, look, I'm gonna say it like this. I don't think that Jalen Miro scrambling is going to be key or the best case for us. I think how we use him in the run game, how we implement him in the run game is going to be key, because I don't think we see more than 8-10 attempts of Jalen Miro, you know, design QB runs. I don't even think we see 8. You know, I think we see 6 design runs to keep the defense honest. Especially Jalen Miro showed a lot of discipline on the read option. Coach Jay, you got any comments for that?
If anything, you know, if we're going to talk about his running ability, I would rather him try to avoid pressure, step up in the pocket, be elusive with the pocket, stay poised, and try to make those try to make those throws on the run. I would rather have that than simply scrambling. And, again, he's going to be implemented into the run game. He's going to have a big factor. But, again, if we can, again, I'm not saying he's going to be Bryce Young, but, the dual threats that have beaten us, they have beaten us because of how elusive they were. A big element was because how elusive they were in the pocket, making throws on the run, staying composed, and overall, because like when you're doing the scrambling drill, guess what? A lot of that, you can be in perfect coverage, but all of a sudden when the play breaks down, receivers have a tendency to know what their quarterbacks, when the play breaks down, receivers, they know exactly what to do. They know how to bail on the route, and they know exactly where to go in order for their quarterback to obviously be successful and to try to make those big throws. And that's something that I think Jalen Murrow, we know he's capable of. We've seen it, but that's something that Bryce Young has done. That's something that Jalen Hurts was famous for here in Alabama. And that's something that I think Jalen Murrow could do. And I think that could be key here because they're gonna put some pressure, right? I don't think this is 2020 Alabama where we're simply just stuffing every single, where Mac Jones he's barely getting touched, he's barely getting any pressure. There's going to be some pressure coming from Ethan Burks. Devondre Sweat's going to get in some good matchups. He's, and coming from the nose, he's going to do a good job. Byron Murphy could get in there as well. But it's about Jalen Murrow staying composed. And if the play breaks down, I want to see him on the runs, keep his eyes down the football field if possible. If he needs to go to last resort to run, fine. But making those second effort plays is going to be a key for Alabama to win this game.
Shawn, Rhett in the chat, Jalen's arm is nothing to sleep on. Tell these folks how long we've been preaching that. Oh my God.
Quite some time, man. You give this guy his opportunity. You give this guy some time. He'll hurt you. Give him time. He'll definitely hurt you.
Look. They just all up in your analysis, Shawn. With the J. Look, they about 8 months later on this scouting report. Jalen Murrow is going to be hard to stop in his own read scheme. Yeah. The way this offensive line was blocking, highlight the left tackle play with Caden Proctor. How them edge runs was just springing open.
Caden was very physical. In the run game, Caden was more physical than some of the veterans. Trust that. That kid was extremely physical. Trust that.
I want y'all to see my face when I say this, chat. Caden Proctor on the run game.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all phases of the run game. Was the most consistent physical imposer on that offensive line for all the quarters he played, every snap he played. When it came to run plays, he was so physical.
Yeah.
Nothing about that 6'7", 330-pound kid was soft. And you talking about you got a guy like Ferguson that's on the bench and that's going to give you that much fire, and he can't get in front of Dalcourt. Come on, guys. Come on. We got to do something. That is key. I believe that's more important than Jalen Murrow time and all the, having that protection in front of him squared away before we walk into Bryant-Denny Stadium against Texas, because those defensive tackles at Texas are nasty, bro.
Texas has no choice. They have no choice but to load the box and play man coverage. They're going to play tight coverage on the outside and try to let Jalen beat them. That's what they're going to do. Basically, they're going to try to load the box so that kid don't get outside, don't give up nothing in the run game. They're going to try to, I guess, live or die with him throwing the ball. They're going to start out with that. You can be rest assured of that. They're going to start out to see if Jalen Murrow can make some plays with his arm. If he completes a few passes and starts off 6 for 7, 7 for 7 like he did this last time, Texas will change. I promise you, they will change.
Yes, and you know what's going to be crazy, because I don't think we gave credit to Jalen Ford in coverage. Yep. There's no linebacker in the nation that's spying Murrow one-on-one.
No,
I don't.
Facts.
Where there's no, I don't see a safety in the nation. You can't. You can gamble and bring your 3 safety look out there, but then we just gonna run it up the gut on you. So big plays from Jaheim Oates in the middle and big offensive line interior protection and push. I think we have a solid game, guys. Before we get out of here, it's time to get into these game predictions, early week predictions. Y'all know early in the week, these predictions we make early in the week, they're not one of those things where, book us on it. We still got practice to go through. Injuries might happen. Guys might come back from injuries. Any, mini, money, mo. Start it off, Coach Shawn.
Predictions?
Game predictions. Yes, sir. Game predictions.
Man, I'm a superstitious man. I don't get predictions. I will, but I'll say this. Bama by 13 points.
By at least 13. Simple as that?
Simple as that.
I like that. You know what, Coach Shawn? You know why I like that from you? Because so much just that what we've been able to talk about tonight. When you talk about scheme schematics, you talk about the pendulum, momentum, questions being answered.
Yep.
If it carries over from last week, I could see us. But I'm not gonna say mine, but I'm right there with you, Coach Jay. Talk to us, buddy.
28-17, 28-17 Alabama. I think they pull away with it in the second half.
Okay. I think. Oh, my fault. Go ahead.
I have to say last year I was actually one of the rare Bama fans that sat up there and said that game was going to be close, really close last year.
Yeah.
And so hopefully my prediction matches up with this one, but I think 28-17 we'll pull away in the second half, in my opinion.
You said, what was that, 28-17?
28-17.
Okay.
So kind of close with Shawn. Kind of close.
Okay. Guys, I'm at home. Jalen Milroe, comfortable. Defense sliding to the ball. Kevin Steele, defensive coordinator. Coach Saban on the field by himself with his positional group coach. Energy on the sideline. Full stadium. Late game. Sun already gone. It's nice and dark and the stars are out. It's a clear sky. Them LED lights is flashing. That one kid with the freaking shirt off got the paint on and is halfway sweated off because he been out drinking too much earlier and he's ready. I got Bama 42, Texas 21. I give Texas 24. I see them getting a few field goals early to stay within striking distance, but it's never a close game. The score is going to be deceptive. Us giving up 24 points is not going to be 24 pressure points. I don't see them ever coming within 13 of us after the second quarter. Third quarter, I feel like it's going to be a drag show, guys. I feel like we're going to pull away and we're going to handle this team like we were supposed to handle them last year. Defensive play calling is going to be crazy. I'm telling you, AJ said I'm smoking. Yeah, we're going to be smoking them Longhorns, AJ. That's what we're going to be smoking, man. Roll Tide in chat. Appreciate the Texas fan for the Texas fan base for pulling up tonight. We was talking to some Texas fans in the chat after the game the other night, and we even had a guy call in that on the call-in show. What was that Sunday, Shawn, when he was the guy from South Korea? And he had some good insight, and it wasn't just the fact that he was making it to where it seemed like Bama had advantage. It was more so calling it like it is. You know, we called out Dalcourt. We called out, plays where guys had miscues. Texas fans act like Quinn Ewers was 6 for 6 on his deep passes. This is a statement I want us to touch on these last few minutes before we close out. I saw this on a Texas message board, okay? And I want y'all reaction to this. It's funny to me. All right. O-line looks shaky. Quinn Ewers, 19 of 30 for 260 yards with 3 touchdowns. May seem like a solid day at the office, but there's no denying that the redshirt quarterback was inconsistent throughout the first half and was showing the same signs from last year, and questions are still unanswered about his accuracy on the deep ball. What I saw from Alabama was guys playing in the face on the perimeter, guys attacking the ball when it was in the air, guys not holding. Things that killed them last year were just not being displayed. I think we're in trouble going into Tuscaloosa, and if any Texas fan thinks otherwise, they might need to reconsider their fanhood.
You know what's funny? I think I actually know who that is too. I think I actually know who that is.
That's you remember I read the part that I was looking at earlier. I just went back and I was like, oh snap, I gotta click show more. And that's what we show more of. So what's your reaction to that, man?
No,
that's a Texas fan statement, just so y'all know.
Oh, I know. I have a great feeling. I know somebody that's on those boards. If anybody that's on that be in the Twitter spaces, you know who I'm talking about. But no, I'm not surprised by that, man. I mean, like I said, there are some Texas fans that were greatly concerned with Quinn Ewers, just his overall lack of consistency. Just didn't really feel that as composed. Was missing a lot of wide open targets. And he had the correct matchups. I don't know if it was just something wrong with his mechanics. I don't know if maybe it was the receiver's part. But he just was not on it until the second half. Again, give credit to Steve Sarkisian in Texas for making some in-game adjustments in order to make Quinn Ewers a lot more comfortable. But if Quinn Ewers needs that much help in order, for him, in order, for him and Texas to have a lot of success, and that's That's a problem. That's going to be a problem because that's why Texas lost as many games as they did with even when Quinn Ewers came back from from injury, come back from Hudson Card. He had a lot of accuracy issues, and it was a lot of simple developed concepts that honestly, again, a lot of those matchups were won by Texas. They just, for some reason, Quinn just couldn't deliver. So there are big questions with his accuracy. There's big questions overall. I mean, again, Texas defense was fine. Last year, they were really, really good. Last year, they made a lot of big improvements overall with their speed, their athleticism, their ability to get home to the quarterback. They again, I think the issue that happened with Texas years ago is exactly what how it's kind of fixed with us is exactly what Texas was last year. It was a lot more simple, and it was a lot more understandable for these players. So honestly, that offense has got to pick up the slack because you have an all-star crew full of receivers. But if you don't have the quarterback that can deliver them the ball on a consistent basis, then you're going to be in big trouble, especially against us.
Facts, man. Coach J, reaction to the Texas fan overreacting? Because you were one that that was a pro. Don't believe the juice. Don't look at the Kool-Aid. It's a different flavor than what it looked like. So, how you feeling about this Texas fan? Even though he stated some facts, he brought some stats in it. How do you feel about it?
I don't fall for it one bit, brother. I'm gonna tell you why. I watched that game, man, and Sark called it an extremely vanilla game. Extremely vanilla. Even some of the deep balls that Quinn missed, it was 2nd and 3, and they went for like a 40-yard play action RPO game. He did miss some balls, missed some guys coming across the middle when the right guard gave up pressure. I think my concern with Quinn is this is a big game for Texas. Those guys will be ready for this game. It's true what Jerick said. They sort of lost focus down the stretch, got beat by teams they shouldn't have. And that could possibly happen Saturday. I hope it happens Saturday. But I don't think Sark is going to allow these guys to come into Alabama and sleepwalk. I do not believe it. I think he's going to put these guys in position based off what he knows that we like to do. And I think Quinn's not going to have a horrible game like that. I think if we go out there and we do not take care of our business and we get a couple of penalties here and we get out of focus, we stay in phase too long, all the things that we did down the stretch, we're going to be in some trouble. I think this team has the potential to beat us if we don't play Alabama football. Quinn is the quarterback. This kid, and it's so crazy because it all depends on which Quinn Ewers shows up. Is it the Quinn Ewers Saturday that was cocky and trying to fit balls in places they shouldn't have been, or is it the Quinn Ewers that comes out, takes what the defense gives him, takes the positions that Sark put him in, for what it is, and makes the plays that they're in front of him? So I don't buy it, man. I got a lot of faith in that dude, Quinn Ewers. I just hope it ain't this Saturday. I hope we get pressure on that guy, mess with his confidence, hit him a little bit, rough him up a little bit, and hopefully he'll throw us some of those balls.
Facts. I'm right there with you, Shawn. The only difference is I don't believe in the pudding. I don't believe in it. I honestly, I went back and I watched majority of the plays from last year's game, Texas against us offensively, because that's where they really killed us at. It wasn't even defense. Defensive play calling, I didn't even care to watch because I don't see us running near that type of scheme, especially early on when Bill O'Brien was having success with the run game and totally went away from it. Like, that made no sense to me in the first quarter. So it's one of those things, man. I saw the same crossing patterns. I saw tight ends, inexperienced tight end trying to do the crossing mesh pattern and really should have been called for, illegal downfield blocking. It was a play where, and Quinn Ewers, I know this was Rice, and 2nd and 3, you going for a 40-yard bomb, but when it's there, you take it. Yeah, you hit it. He missed 6 of those, man. He 4 out of the 6 were wide open. 2 was contested. 1 was very underthrown. 3 of them were overthrown by like 7-8 yards. Like, you don't come into a game against Bama and clean that up, especially with the type of pressure. We know one thing for sure. We all know, all 3 of us on this panel know, Kevin Steele and Coach Saban are bringing pressure. They're going to bring pressure. I don't think we play soft. I don't think we will, like you said, the opportunity when time is there is the consequences of allowing a quarterback like Ewers, that type of time is very, very consequential. And we don't need that early in the game. So I think we eliminate that early to the point where in the late game, we force them to go over top. And like this fan said, if he can't clean that deep ball up, which where our weakness should be, being that that's where the least amount of experience is. You talking about, possibly Christian Story and maybe Caleb Downs having to be your starting safeties. That could present a problem. Christian Story been there for 4 years, but he doesn't have a lot of meaningful game time. Caleb Downs is a true freshman, had a strong soaring, but he's not going to see this caliber of offense. He didn't see this caliber of offense last year. So I could see where we could have questions, but I think the front saves us and allows that secondary to grow, just like Georgia front did with their secondary last year. They had such a dominant front seven. It was hard to even see what their secondary was about because they weren't really getting tested. And when they were, you had true freshman Malachi Starks just showing his range and being able to recover and, pick off bad balls from pressure. So I like that, man. So what you got to say, Shawn?
To the young man in the chat, D Senior, I think it is. He says Rice is way better than Middle Tennessee. Newsflash: 2 years ago when they played last play, Middle Tennessee beat Rice, brother. Do your research.
Yeah. Come on, man. And transitive property is never a good thing to use when you're talking. I learned this in a little sports talk group I was in, and it is not nothing that I learned. I just never knew it was a good term to use for that. When you talking about how teams match up, just like people watch Florida State and LSU game, was like LSU is not it. This, that, and the third. We just saw Florida State win mismatches. That's usually what happens in the first game of the season. Mismatches get exposed. Whoever can consistently expose the mismatch early, that's who usually can win the game, because it's hard to get guys to make adjustments first game of the year. You got guys who are in their first start, they're in their first meaningful game time. Like, it's hard to get them off of the game plan to make those adjustments. It's very few teams that could get plays to turn and adjust on the fly like that. So I'm not buying the Middle Tennessee State was better than Rice. That's how we're going to get no, I'm looking at scheme. I'm looking at what Sark did last year. He did the same thing against Rice. Majority of his play calling was the same against Rice as he did against us. Same formations, a lot of the similar motions. I think he's going to attack us out of those spots differently. But you talking about general scheme, we're going to see a lot of what we know from Sark. Just as much as we know Sark knows our defense, I believe Kevin Steele and Coach Saban knows Sark's type of offense, because guess who Sark's offense is branched off of? Lane Kiffin. Guess who gave Lane Kiffin the worst offensive production game when he was at Auburn? Kevin Steele. You get what I'm saying? So it's like full circle when you talk about these staffs. It's just the game of chess. And I think that's where Nick Saban went out and he made those calculated moves to get the people on the staff. Now, look, everybody, I know we've been dragging on because we're excited about this game, but we have over 300 people in the chat, man. I want y'all to run them likes up. It's free. It's something that just shows us, the panel, Kyle Henderson, who provided this platform for us. It shows us that you appreciate the content. Even if you don't like it, give a thumbs down. We want to know why you don't like it. Comment, subscribe, continue to share the content, man. And don't forget, Kyle will be on tomorrow. He'll have a lot of content being posted today. Turn those notifications on. Make sure when you hit the notification, the bell is colored in. If you're on a computer, if you're on a PC, on your phone, it'll tell you notifications on. Guys, we have Texas this weekend. You guys got our scoring predictions to end the show. We're going to go with Coach Jay. Give me your offensive MVP and your defensive MVP.
All right. Offensive MVP, I'm going to go with Amari Nyblack. I think he's going to have a huge game here. I think, again, Tommy Rees is going to have a lot of those matchups with those tight ends. I think they're going to be fully unleashed. I think Amari Nyblack is going to have a great game here, especially with the mismatches with their linebackers and with their nickelback. So I'm excited. I'm really, really excited to see what happens. But Amari Nyblack will be my offensive MVP. And then defense MVP, let's go with Jaheim Otis. I think the interior is going to be really, really important, especially when it comes to disruption, because that's exactly what we need. We need to disrupt, especially coming from the interior. Jaheim Otis made a big impact last year during that Texas game when he came in for DJ Dale, who for God knows why was favorited by every Alabama staffer. I have no idea why, but not in this game. Jaheim Otis will be starting, and I think he will be a mismatch for their center. I don't know if Cole Hudson's coming back, but again, DJ Campbell playing at that left guard spot. Man, I think, you try to double team him, he's going to kill it, especially when it comes to a gap assignment football. So overall wise, I think Jaheim Otis, he won't have the monster stats, but he'll have a big impact in the game. That'll be my defense MVP.
Jay, 10 seconds to acknowledge this comment right here on the screen in front of you. 10 seconds.
Oh my goodness gracious. I can't, man.
Okay, I knew I wanted to let you try. We're gonna let him ride. Shawn, go ahead, man. Offensive, you want it? Here you go. It's time to do it. Look,
He trolling,
I can't
bro.
even, man.
He trolling. He got to be trolling.
Not
bro.
a 5-star JT Daniels who done went to 4 different programs.
Shout out to D Senior, bro. I like you, bro, but you should stick with basketball. Stop it. Stop it. But anyway, my MVPs, I really don't know who the MVP is going to be, man, but I can tell you who I think needs to have an MVP game for us to win.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think Jermaine Burton. Jermaine Burton need to step up in this game because he's not going to get double covered at all in no type of way. Jermaine Burton, if you watching, brother, you got to dominate your opponent. They're going to check you in man. You got to work your DB. Jermaine Burton on the offense, on the defense, Quindarius Robinson. Quindarius Robinson needs to have a great game for us. He was by far the best pass rusher to me consistently Saturday. Quindarius Robinson needs to have an MVP type game, and my X factor is Jalen Milroe's legs. Those three things, Bama wins, period.
Y'all see my face? Because every time I let Shawn go before me, he had me throw me a curveball. I have to reset. So offensive MVP, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go off schedule. I'm gonna go with the running back room. The whole whatever running backs are put on that field, I'm gonna need at least 4 yards carry average. Every carry, I need the running back room. I feel like offensively, our offensive line is going to be put to the test to lean on those guys early and see what type of push we can get. But overall, I think it's the running back room. And I think we see that defensively. I'm going to go with the coverage with our top side, our safeties. I think the matchups, whether we have those guys walking down to the tight ends and covering Sanders, I mean, I want to believe that Kevin still won't put Downs up against a Sanders on that type of look. But I honestly believe if we had to have a true freshman out there to do it, Caleb Downs would be the guy you want out there to do it. Because coverage wise, he may not be big enough. Nobody in the SEC is gonna be big enough to, just lock that dude down. You're gonna have to have some type of technique. Caleb Downs is a smart enough kid to get out there and do it. And my X factor for this game, I'm gonna go with Amari Kneblack. He's the mismatch as far as lining up and going up against Texas's offense. I think Amari Kneblack is the mismatch and the X factor for the game because he just presents a different element. I don't think people realize this guy is I think he ran a 21.9 or 21.9 200 meter in high school. His senior year, 21.9 200 meter. That's you talking about 6'4", 245, 250, stretching the field like a big wide receiver. Everybody was, giving the kid Wilson, number 4 from Florida State, giving him them props, some 6'7" guy. Everybody giving him his props for how he can, move the ball, create a big target for the quarterback. We saw the finesse side of Kneblack against Middle Tennessee State. We're going to see him make a lot of key catches this game. And that's it for me, man. That's it. The X factor. I think we're going to see another thing. Hot take. I think we're going to have 2 100-yard rushers against Texas. And majority of this run game is going to come off of big plays. One at the beginning of the game, somewhere in the first quarter, first half, and first drive. If we receive the ball, first drive coming out of the second half, I see something big happening for one of the running backs. And maybe Jalen Milroe might be the other 100-yard back. I see him busting the 71, or maybe that's the running back just busting them holes. So I'm excited, guys. I'm excited. Alabama is ready. I think Coach Saban is more ready than anybody. Honestly, I think he's ready to show what we've been working on all off season. He feels the energy these guys feel. So while in our closing, guys, hopefully you all enjoyed the show, man. We appreciate y'all for showing up. Hold on, Coach Jerick, you got something?
We had a super chat.
Oh, my fault. Where?
It was at the top.
The Texas.
There it is.
Quentin. Yep. Here we go. Let's talk to him. He want attention. Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, J.T. Sanders. Well, we're very familiar. I guarantee you we're familiar. That's the thing. I don't think we were as prepared last year. I don't think last year's team was mentally there. I think last year's team expected a Texas team to come out and fear the Alabama A on the front of that jersey and on the side of the helmet. I mean, and those numbers on the side of the helmet, the names on the back of those jerseys. They didn't try to impose their will early in the game. and their lack of focus came back to bite us. Schematically, we weren't there defensively. So that's where I'm at with it. Shawn?
Tell him Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold, and Caleb Downs. You get familiar.
Hey, you know what I've been seeing? What I've been hearing in practice, Shawn? Trey Amos walking inside to the nickel this week.
I believe it.
If you have 3 corners, interchangeable corners that could really shadow across the field, walk with a man.
Yep.
Know that once I get perimeter assignment and man, I have perimeter assignment. You get 3 DBs like that.
Yep.
LSU. Why you think LSU had the number 1 pass defense the years Tyrann Matthew, what's my guy number
Morris
7? Claiborne.
Or
all them guys.
Yeah.
It was Adrian Peterson, all them, not Adrian Peterson.
Patrick Peterson.
Mm-hmm. All them guys, they were deep. You had 3 guys in the secondary that really could match up and just follow a guy. When you could do that and have one safety just kind of float in between all that, pick a side. Who got beat last play? Let me help them a little bit. Who got beat last play? Let me make sure I'm helping run support first. Oh, the front 7 got it. Well, when it gets in the air, I'll go get it. Anytime you provide Eddie Jackson benefited from having that issue in front of, or that luxury in front of him. So great show, guys. Once again, Quentin, thanks for the super chats, man. Appreciate the Texas fans, all the fans, but most of all, we appreciate our Roll Tide family, man. As we close and everybody shares their socials, I want everybody to give me some RTRs in the chat, man. My boy said we taking a pick 6 to the house. Oh, factuals. Coach Shawn, take it away, brother. Tell everybody where they can find you at.
Last but not least, man, if you guys want to email Talk Football, HammondsFamily25@gmail.com. Social media coming soon. Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to Kyle for giving us the opportunity. Shout out to my brothers on the panel. Roll Tide, crowd, come out, scream your heads off. Let's go.
Coach Jay, take it away, brother.
Yeah, find me at Twitter, Gent716. Of course, you guys can find me on YouTube, Jan Sports, as well, if you want to, follow my personal YouTube. And then, of course, definitely follow me on Gmail, or you can personal contact information again, Jerick946. Especially if you want to try. Best way to get in contact with me is definitely through email. So definitely go ahead and do that. We can talk pretty much anything there. Again, can't wait for the season to start. Can't wait for Alabama to potentially beat Texas. Hopefully we can beat Texas, right? Hopefully my prediction is kind of wrong. Hopefully we can blow them out, but it is what it is. Whether if it's a close score or whether if it's a blowout, for the most part, if Alabama can win, that's all that matters. And then I think most importantly, for the most part, want to thank Kyle Henderson, want to thank Shawn, want to thank Coach Smook. Again, you guys were awesome tonight. And Bama fans, appreciate you guys for all the love and all the support. Hopefully we can continue this again moving forward for the post game, and hopefully we get that W.
And last but not least, yours truly, Coach Smook, man. I don't know. I think I'm a little bit more thankful because these guys make it easy, man. We kind of got put in the fire with this show, and the chemistry, the ability to not want to hog the mic, it's natural here, guys. I love talking football with these guys. Literally, we have the show before the show in the green room. Everything, the way we handle it on this panel and how we do things is how we are in the back room. So when we go live, it's no necessarily not a script or what who's going to say what. We just vibe off each other, and it's hard to find guys like that, man. It's hard to find guys like that really understand football and could see the different sides of things and just take advantage of what's happening before us. And that's what I'm excited about for Alabama football, y'all. I think Alabama football has returned to the state. But find me at Coach Smook on everything, y'all. Tonight, if y'all want to see the live version of Alabama versus Texas on college football revamp, I will be going live on my YouTube channel at Coach Smook. I will also be live on kick.com. This is something that we're going to start incorporating on the channel. You guys had a lot of nice reactions to the previews of it from the last one, so I'm going to continue to do it. And we're going to capitalize on it. I think it's going to bring a different aspect for our fan base to come in and join in and just have a good time, man. The vibes are always there. And like Shawn and Jerick say, we're going to get Shawn active on content. This guy has a lot of knowledge. Me and Jerick are coaching him up, getting his Twitter up. Y'all seen my comment earlier. Coach Shawn need to get on that Twitter. We're going to get Coach Shawn on the Twitter, and we're going to get him active because the Alabama fan base needs to hear these guys' voices. And last but not least, shout out to Kyle Henderson, the freaking GOAT, man. When I say this guy is a staple and talk about Bama football content in this new age of getting content out, you know, past media, past mainstream. This guy's a different breed. He's a different, the brand speaks for itself. Bama football on YouTube. If you ever come to YouTube and you type Bama football, you're going to see this channel pop up first, and you're not going to be dissatisfied. So I thank you all for pulling up. I know my panel thanks you guys. I thank you once again. And if nothing else needs to be said, Pat, it's been fun. It's been good. Monday night quarterback with the coaches, Coach Smook, Coach Jay, Coach Shawn. We out of here, man. Roll Tide.
Always believe. Roll Tide, brother.
Yes, sir.